This week on The Review, we talk to the filmmaker behind one of Al Jazeera's top trending documentaries, highlight mass anti-government protests in Brazil and explosions in the heart of Bangkok. Plus, we kick off a brand new program series, My Nigeria. Hello and welcome to The Review, the show that goes behind the scenes at Al Jazeera and lets you do the talking. One of the most watched films on the channel this week is Valentino's Ghost, Framing the Arab Image. It looks at how America's foreign policy agenda in the Middle East drives the U.S. media's portrayal of Arabs and Muslims. Here's what you've been saying about the film on Facebook. Ariel Gaspardis writes, a very good depiction of the present conflict, which is nothing but the history of American-European colonialist intervention in the Muslim world. But not everyone has liked it. David Bullen says, this program, though sounding and being factual, is a complete waste, as it does not give the case for both sides in the dispute over Israel. And James Knoop states, Hollywood is equal opportunity when it comes to stereotyping. Yes, Arabs are stereotyped, but so is everyone else. Stick around as we'll be putting those views to the film's producer-director, Michael Singh, after this quick run-through of the week's news highlights.
Anti-government protests have been taking place across Brazil. Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro was brought to a standstill as thousands marched calling for the resignation of President Dilma Rousseff.
I'm actually at the site where the bomb went off. It's been cordoned off by the police. There is a sea of emergency vehicles around me. What we understand is that an explosion went off at the Erawan shrine.
These children come from poor families, and a few have even lived on the streets. They come to this circus training center in Addis Ababa every day. It's believed around 30% of the population live in poverty, and that has a massive impact on the younger generation, when around 50% of the population are under the age of 18.
If this is a promised land, then for many it's proving to be a false one. They're exclusively Syrians on board who, having fled their country's civil war, are given priority here. And certainly the ferry's presence has eased the crisis of recent weeks. But for many other nationalities who aren't allowed on board, like these people living rough on a beach in the center of town, very little has changed.
According to the South Korean military, first a rocket and then a few minutes later a second firing. There are reports that that firing was artillery firing. Then these dozens of artillery shells coming back from the southern side of the border.
We're back with director-producer Michael Singh, who joins us from Los Angeles. Thanks for talking to us about your film, Valentino's Ghost, Framing the Arab Image. Michael, tell us the story behind the making of this film. What was the spark?
Thank you, Aisha. What prompted me to make Valentino's Ghost was actually a lifetime of observation. I grew up in India. I came to the United States when I was 18, and I began to notice that many of my friends, some Christian or atheist, but mostly Jewish, were expressing contempt or denigrating Arabs and Muslims. I found this to be interesting intellectually, but emotionally a little bit surprising. And I compared this denigration of Arabs and Muslims to what happens in South Africa towards blacks, or in India towards so-called untouchables. And I sort of took it as being part of the American psyche, which I think it is. When I decided to become a documentary filmmaker, my first job was with two Israeli producers who wanted me to illustrate, as a screenwriter, the Antichrist as Khomeini, Gaddafi, and I think it was Saddam Hussein or Arafat. In any case, they were all Arabs. And I said, this is not right. And they said, oh, this is just a joke, it's funny. And I realized that even Jewish producers did not understand the impact that stereotyping can have on a culture and on the targets of that stereotyping. And that this was a time for me to do something about it, and that was to make a documentary about that very subject.
Some viewers have critiqued your film for being biased. How do you respond to that?
Most people who hold Israel very close to their hearts, whether they're evangelical Christians or some observant Jews, are not accustomed to Israel being questioned, much less challenged, much less exposed in terms of its own history. Every nation has violence in its history, and nations are sort of amoral, in my opinion, Dave. And people are not used to that. And Valentino's ghost goes into areas and turns light on in corners that are not really illuminated. So they feel very upset. I see Israel in a way like the emperor with no clothes. People are not willing to go there. And we do go there. And this is very startling and upsetting to people who don't like Israel criticized. Now, that's not the only subject in Valentino's Ghost, but that is the one that is inspiring the most resentment amongst certain viewers because they're not used to that.
What did you set out to do in the film, and what do you want viewers to take away from it?
Our specific goal in making Valentino's Ghost, and my team and I, we were a team, we agreed, was to trigger conversation, discussion, debate. We feel that there is no serious debate anywhere in the United States between sides, within communities, about American policy towards Israel, about the Israel-Palestine issue. We just wanted to create a debate within the American culture, from academia to Hollywood to the State Department.
Before we go, we wanted to announce the launch of a brand new series here on Al Jazeera. Hitting your screens on the 24th of August is My Nigeria. 6 films, each told from the perspective of a Nigerian character. From a stand-up comedian to a lady mechanic, the series follows 6 diverse people who lead us into their worlds and present a broad picture of their country. Yvonne Bates from Lagos wrote us directly via our Your View portal. If each one avoids the cliches we usually see in global media, then bravo Al Jazeera, I'll be watching. Make sure to catch those films, we know Yvonne will, and write to us, the review, to let us know what you think. See you next time.
My Nigeria is full of hustle and bustle.
My Nigeria is my joy, my pain, my love.
My Nigeria is full of surprises.
My Nigeria is excellence.
This is ethnic fashion. This is what the world is looking for. The world is looking for a difference.
If you tell me it's impossible, I take it as a challenge.
This is my Nigeria.